What's up, everybody? Today we're going to take a look at everything submitted for Season 28, which will be themed around Cyberpunk. I will be rating the items based on how likely they are to make it into the game, and I'll be putting them into this tier list so you can easily track how I feel about each item compared to one another. Remember that the number does not always correlate to the quality of the item. There are some very good quality items that will end up lower on the list. The number simply tells you how likely it is to make it into the game. Make sure to let me know your opinion in the comments, and also feel free to fill out this tier list for yourself. It's linked in the comments. Anyways, enough yap. Let's get started. First up, let's discuss the drifts created for the season. The first drift we have to talk about is the glitch drift from Spirited Jacket. It's a pretty decent effect, but it was submitted for Season 25, which was the Pixel season. It doesn't really feel super Cyberpunk themed in my opinion, plus it doesn't have that much support, so I don't think they're going to add it for this season. This item will get a 1 out of 10. Next up, we have the Neo Lighting Beam Drift from that one dev. This is a pretty good drift, especially since it's the first one that this creator ever made, but it only has about 53 upvotes, so it's clearly not that exciting to a lot of people. Plus the effect itself is not super impressive, so I don't think they're going to select this one. I'm going to give it a 1 out of 10 as well. Then we have the Neo Drift from Sharif. This was the guy who made the Ocean Drift from the last season, but he did say that the resolution problem will not be affecting this drift. It looks really cool. It has over 500 upvotes, and I think this one fits the aesthetic of Cyberpunk quite well. So I think this will be the drift they'll pick for the season. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. And finally, for drifts, we have the Data Stream Drift from Ocean. This is a nice looking drift. It has a lot of upvotes, so it has a lot of player support. But the thing is, it looks a bit similar to the drift we got from Season 19. So I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. I think it has a decent chance, but I don't think this is the drift that the devs are going to select. Next, we gotta talk about the tires. The first tires we have here are the Cyber Rings tires from Badcc. It's weird because they basically cover up the rim entirely. I don't think the devs are going to add these because they're too difficult to implement. Plus, they don't have much support. People aren't really clamoring for this one. I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 10. Very likely they will not add this one. Next, we have the Hollow Tire Garage item from Spirited Jacket. This one has a pretty good shot. It fits the theme well. It looks cool. It looks a little basic, but it's straightforward and it's exactly what it needs to be. I'm giving this a 6 out of 10. It has a decent chance, but I think the devs will select other tires over this one. Then there's the salvaged tech tire sticker from Theogon. This is alright, but it's not the most exciting item. I don't know if the devs will pick a tire sticker for this season. They did for last season, but for this one, I think they're more likely to select a tire style. This one just isn't that interesting, and I don't think the devs would choose this one. I'm giving it a 4 out of 10. I'm leaning towards no on this one. Then there's the Volt tires from Tommy Baumites. These have a lot of support. People really liked this one. It looks really nice. I would love it if we could actually change the color on them. I think that's a customization option the devs need to add now. But even if that wasn't a thing, these still look really nice and would fit on several vehicles really well. I'm pretty confident that these will be the tires picked for the season. I will give them a 10 out of 10. Then we have the Digital Cyberstorm from Theogon. This one fits the theme better and it has effects, so it has an okay chance, but like I said, I think they're going to pick a tire style instead. This one will get a 5 out of 10. It could go either way. After that, from Plasmazilla, we have the Hierarch 9000. It even lights up, but he included a version where it doesn't light up if the devs aren't able to make it work. This is pretty nice and definitely fits the cyberpunk aesthetic. Like I said, I don't know if they're going to add a tire sticker, but if they do, this one has a pretty good shot. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Then we have the airless tires from Lolalvi. This is pretty good, but it's just not that interesting. It's not super flashy, it doesn't stand out too much, and it might be a bit annoying to work with since I don't know how tire stickers will function with this one. I'm gonna give this a 3 out of 10. Then we got the Pulse tires from Silence. This is basically the same thing as the Hollow tires. The key difference between them is just the effect. It would be really nice if you could customize these ones as well. I think these have a pretty good chance as well, but if they were to pick an animated tire style, they'd probably pick the Hollow tires instead. Therefore, for these, I'm gonna give them a 4 out of 10. For the penultimate tires, we have the Cyber Spike tires. These are good, but I'm not feeling these too much. They're a bit too similar to the spiked tires from Season 20. They just look a little bit odd. I'm gonna give these a 3 out of 10. And lastly, we have the Rogue tire from Pleasant Fondant. Unfortunately, these will most definitely not make it into the game. It's just too low quality. I can't even tell where the sticker will go on, and it simply doesn't look very good. It gets a 1 out of 10. Up next, furniture. First, we have the Computex from TO Prime. It looks alright, but it's a bit too simplistic. Plus, it's weird because it would go on the floor of your apartment and not on a table, and it does not have much support. I'm giving this a 2 out of 10. Following that up, we have the holographic billboard. This is actually a decent idea, and I'm surprised it did not get much more support. It's a pretty cool looking furniture. I think it would work well. The only issue is the animation and the custom screen. I wonder if that would be too hard for the devs to implement. I'm giving this a 5 out of 10. Then we have the hollow lap meter from Badcc. It's a bit too blurry and you can't really tell what it's saying sometimes, but it does look pretty good and it's animated. I'm gonna give this a 5 out of 10 as well. Following that up, we have the upgrade station from Caracal Enjoyer. I would say this has a very solid chance of being the furniture selected for the season. It fits the theme perfectly. It would look nice in apartments. Hopefully it would have some sort of effect when you step into it, but if not, it would still be a nice touch to have. I will give this a 7 out of 10. I think it is likely to be chosen. Up next from Big Mistake, we have the Cyberpunk chandelier. This is a good idea, but the presentation is pretty bad. It needs to be put inside an actual apartment so we can see how it looks. Plus the item itself is pretty low quality. I think there's a solid idea here, but it needed to be fleshed out more. This gets a 1 out of 10. I don't think there's any chance that you pick this one. Following that up, we have the railgun from Magnifidude. This is pretty cool, but unfortunately the devs don't add defensive furniture created from seasons. Therefore, this one gets a 1 out of 10 as well. Up next is the noodle stall from Bacon Buddy Friend. It's pretty good, but not super cyberpunk themed. It has some Japanese text and it has some bright colors, but otherwise it doesn't really scream cyberpunk to me. I'm putting this in 4 out of 10. Then we have the Neon Veins wall furniture from Bacon Buddy Friend. This one fits the theme a little bit better. This one looks more like something I could see in a cyberpunk city, and it's also animated, which makes it stand out a bit. I'm gonna put this in 7 out of 10 as well. I think it has a good chance. Up next, the hologram donut machine from Dr. Radium. I like this one. It's a little bit basic, but it's fun and it fits the theme really well. I would love it if this was actually functional and could reward donuts. As for likelihood, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Then we've got the spine wall lamp from II Fallon. It's essentially the Sandevistan from Cyberpunk turned into a lamp. This is a great idea. Unfortunately, the devs were saying they're not going to add anything directly lifted from Cyberpunk, so I'm going to give this a 1 out of 10. Following that up, we have the Jailbreak wall decoration. It's simple, but it works really well. It fits the theme perfectly. I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. Honestly, I think this is the most likely furniture to make it into this season. It perfectly takes the Cyberpunk theme and applies it to create a really good furniture. Lastly, we have the holographic bounty from Wifiax. This one is pretty well put together. I would love it if it could cycle between actual players in the server. I don't think it will though, since this guy actually went through the effort of making this criminal and putting it on the board. It's pretty good, not that interesting, but it fits the theme well. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. And that's it for the furniture. Honestly, it's a bit hard to rate the furniture for this season. There's not really anything that jumps to mind as a clear winner. I think the most likely furniture is this jailbreak wall sign, but I would not be surprised if any of these in 7 out of 10 were picked instead. Moving on to rims, the first rim we have to discuss here is the computer fan wheels from Harmonic Dust. This is a nice rim idea, but it is way too similar to the RTX rims which we got previously. Plus, it's not super cyberpunk themed in my opinion. I think very likely they will not select this one. I'm going to put it in 2 out of 10. Following that up, we have the CR1 rim from TO Prime. It's pretty good, but not too interesting, and I don't think this screams cyberpunk to me. I could see them adding this for a different season or just in general as a reward from saves or something. But for the cyberpunk season, I'm not sure that they'll select this one. I'll give it a 4 out of 10. Then we have the Neo Runner rims from Tommy Baumites. These look really cool. I think they fit the theme perfectly. The customization is the main thing holding it back, since you can only change the neon elements. I would have preferred if the neon elements were one color and the customizational portion was the rest of the rim, but it still works super well for the season and it has a lot of support. The only thing holding it back is that it's a bit too similar to the saw blade rims from season 13, but I don't think that'll be too much of an obstacle. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. I think these are pretty likely to get chosen. Following that up, we have the P100i rim. These ones fit the theme super well and they look pretty solid. These would definitely work as the free rim prize from the season, and they have a pretty good amount of support. I'm giving them a 7 out of 10. Up next, the Coder's Vortex from Dr. Radium. It's good, a bit too bright for my liking, but I think it fits the theme well enough. It doesn't have that much support though. I think the devs would choose stuff over this one. It gets a 3 out of 10. Then there's the Pulsar rims from Bacon Buddy Friend. These are too similar to the frosted rims we got from season 19, except these ones are animated instead. I think this is an okay idea, but in execution it just falls flat. I don't like the rim design itself, and you can barely see it, so I don't think this would be a good prize, and I don't think it's going to be chosen. I'm giving it a 2 out of 10. Then there's the hubless rims from LOLOLV. It's okay, but it's pretty much just the Halo rims. They're not that interesting. I'll give them a 3 out of 10. I think they likely won't get picked. Then we have the Cyber Vortex rims. These are a very interesting idea. They're not super cyberpunky in my opinion. However, they are trippy and they do look cool and they do have a good bit of support. I'll give them a 6 out of 10. Next, the Infinity rims from Ocean. These rims are actually animated, which does enough to set it apart from the other Halo circle rims with nothing inside of them. These look very cool and they do have a lot of upvotes, which indicates there is a lot of community support. So I think these rims have the best shot of making it into the season out of all the rims we've looked at. I am very confident that these will be the rims chosen for the season pass, and I will put them in 10 out of 10. Then from Doggo McDingo we have the Rewinds. These are pretty cool. It's not exactly my favorite when it comes to rim design, and I'm not sure how good this rim will look when it's driving, but I think it works okay enough, and I think it definitely has a chance. I'll put it in 6 out of 10. Following that up we have the Bionic Vision rims from Diamond King. These rims look alright, but they're pretty flat. That's the only thing that holds them back. I think they definitely fit the theme. They're futuristic and feel like a bionic eye or something like that. I'll give them a 5 out of 10. I could totally see the devs picking it, but I could also see a probability where the devs decide not to choose it. The penultimate rims here are the Eclipse rims. As you can see, they're animated in the exact same way as the other rims we looked at, but I think they'd likely add the other ones since this one does not have as much support and it came afterwards. I'm gonna put them in 3 out of 10. I'm thinking likely not. Finally, we have the Hexbound rims. They're okay, but I'm not in love with this effect, and they don't have much support. I think they will not add them. I'm putting them in 2 out of 10. Spoiler alert, it's time to talk spoilers. The mech spoiler from Bees Buzz is the first spoiler we will look at. I don't think this will work well as a spoiler. It's just too clunky and doesn't work well on the back of a vehicle. This would have been a great pet, but for a spoiler, I don't think they'll pick it. I'm giving it a 1 out of 10. Then there's the Hollow Wing from Withiax. This one is alright, but it's not super exciting. If the effects were animated, it might have a better chance. I'm giving these a 4 out of 10. Then there's the Hollow Spoiler from Spirited Jacket. This one is animated in a similar fashion to the Hollow Tires that we looked at earlier. I think these have a decent chance, but I'm not super sold on them. Up next, the Cyberwave Spoiler. These are from Tommy, and I think these will probably get chosen. The spoiler itself looks really solid and it has a really cool trail. I think this is very likely going to get picked. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. Following that up we have the Cybowl spoiler. It's alright, but not super interesting. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. Following that up we have the holographic taunt. This one is pretty cool. I don't know if the devs would add it because it's animated, and I don't know how it would look like on smaller vehicles that have smaller spoilers. So that's the only thing holding it back, but I do think it has an alright shot. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. After that, we have the Cyber Edge spoiler from Speed Queen. It's basic, but it fits the theme really well, and it has a decent amount of support. I think this is the most likely lower level spoiler they'll pick, but I'm not super sold on it. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Then there's the Urban Flux spoiler. It's an okay idea, but not executed the best. I don't really like random dropped objects as spoilers. I'm not really sure how you could customize this one. The graffiti elements are just too much. I think this does not work well as a spoiler, unfortunately. This would have been a solid apartment cosmetic though. I'll give it a 3 out of 10. For the penultimate spoiler, we have the Cyber Thrust. It does have an effect that activates when the vehicle starts driving, which definitely makes it stand out compared to other animated spoilers. But the spoiler design itself just looks very odd and a bit low quality. I'm not convinced they'll add this one. I think it'll get a 4 out of 10. Then for the last spoiler, we have the Adrenaline from Kai Song. And this one gets a 1 out of 10. It's just too basic and it doesn't have enough support. Now let's talk about the textures created for the season. First up, we have the Cyberstorm texture created by The Cube. I actually like this texture. I like that it has 3 different colors incorporated incorporated into it. It definitely feels like something out of Cyberpunk Edge Runners. Unfortunately, it does not have much support, and I think there is a texture that clearly stands out when compared to the rest that I think the devs will probably pick. So this texture here will get a 3 out of 10. Then there's the flashing lights texture from Harmonic Dust. This definitely feels like something I could see in the Cyberpunk game. Unfortunately, it's not super exciting and it doesn't stand out too much compared to other textures that we have. So this will get a 2 out of 10. I don't think they'll pick it. After that, the Outfade from Dr. Radium. This one also reminds me a lot of Cyberpunk Edge Runners. It will get a 4 out of 10. I'm leaning towards no because even though it is a good texture, there's stuff that has very strong competition against it and it doesn't have much support. Again, from Dr. Radium, we have the Codebreaker. This one I think fits the theme pretty well. However, it doesn't stand out too much. It's not the most exciting texture, and it doesn't have much support. So this one will get a 3 out of 10. For the penultimate texture, we have the Neon Overdrive. This one is pretty good, but does not have much support, and isn't super competitive in my opinion. It'll get a 2 out of 10. But the final texture we have here is the Hologram from Ocean. And this texture easily has the best chance of getting chosen. It looks really cool, and it has a really cool feature. It actually changes color based on your vehicle body color. The only thing that holds this back from being a guaranteed 10 out of 10 is that I'm not sure if the devs would be able to implement that body color changing feature. This texture also makes the car translucent, and I think that would definitely take some work to implement, so that does hold it back, but I do think it has the strongest chance out of all the textures here. It will get a 9 out of 10. Now we are at the section everybody wants to talk about, the vehicles. First up from NST Matt, we have the Voltron. This is a really cool submission. I like the way that it's showcased. However, it's very futuristic, but not what I think of when I think Cyberpunk. It also is too similar to the M12 Molten. It does not look unique enough to fit the Cyberpunk season. This might seem harsh, but I'm giving it a 2 out of 10. This is a very competitive season when it comes to vehicles, and unfortunately you're going to see a lot of vehicles end up with low ratings. Then we have the Razor. This is a really fun little vehicle that I quite like, but it's not the most exciting and it was not presented in the best way. This guy actually did make some GIFs on Twitter that make it look much better, and I think if he put these in his submission, then it would have had a much better chance. I personally would really like it if this was selected to be a reskin of the drone, but for the season grand prize, I don't think it has a strong chance. I'm giving it a 2 out of 10. Then there's the Hollow. This is an alright idea, but this is more futuristic than Cyberpunk. It also has a strange shape and it just looks kind of odd. I don't think they're going to select this one. It will get a 2 out of 10. Then there's the Wisteria Seraph from Exercise Over. This is a really cool looking car and it does have quite a bit of upvotes. It actually is able to seat 5 people. It does have a few elements in the back to make it a bit cyberpunky, but overall to me this looks like just another hypercar and I don't think it's very likely to get picked for the season. It does have a chance, but I'm leaning towards no on this one. Then from Fender, there's the Polaire Turbo. This was submitted a long time ago for a different season, and I don't think this fits the theme super well. I think it definitely qualifies, but it's not interesting enough. It gets a 2 out of 10. Then there's the Excalibur X3. Apparently GTA players have a lot of PTSD from this vehicle. It looks cool, but I doubt they're gonna add it, especially because they don't add bike vehicles as season prizes. It'll get 1 out of 10. As for the Smite, I quite like this one, and I actually do think this fits the theme well enough, and it has an okay amount of support. But like I said, the devs don't really add bike vehicles as season grand prizes. Unfortunately, this will get 1 out of 10 as well. Then we have the Synth Wave from Bacon Buddy Friend. I quite like the idea of this vehicle, and I really like that it has an animation to transform it from driving to flying, but unfortunately, the design of the vehicle itself is too basic. This was one of the first cars that Bacon Buddy Friend made, and it's not quite up to the Jailbreak standard, so I am very doubtful that they'll select this one. It will get a 2 out of 10. Then there's the Katana created by Plasmazilla. This is a really cool car. I think this definitely fits the theme. Plasmazilla is amazing, but unfortunately he just won the previous season. I don't think they're going to select him for this season because the outrage for picking the same guy back to back would be a lot from the community, and the devs want to avoid outrage when it comes to season grand prizes. This one will get a 2 out of 10. I could see a world where this gets selected as the season grand prize, but unfortunately I highly doubt it will. Up next is the Pegasus. Now this one has grown on me a lot, and I now think that this is the most likely vehicle to win in the season. It looks really cool. I could see this in a Cyberpunk setting. There's enough modifications to the side that make me think of Cyberpunk, and I think a lot of players would really appreciate having another hover themed vehicle. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a 9 out of 10. I honestly think this vehicle is highly likely to get chosen, but I'm not willing to give it a 10 out of 10 because there are so many competitive vehicles for this season, and I could see something getting chosen over this one. Then there's the Prowler. This is a cool vehicle. It's basically like the Batmobile from the DCEU. Unfortunately, it doesn't have that much hype and support compared to other submissions. I'm gonna give this a 3 out of 10. Then there's the Volt 1x1. This is the peak of Jailbreak submissions. This is so beautiful that it transcends the criteria that I put here. I'm gonna have to make a whole new category for this creation alone. It will get a 1x1 out of 10. We should not even debate this vehicle any further. Then there's the Cypher from Pigeon King. It's way too basic and not exciting enough for the season. It will get a 1 out of 10. Then there's the Sunspot from Lolalvi. It's a bike, and we all know how the devs feel about bikes. They have not added a new bike in years, and they have never done a bike for seasons. It will get a 1 out of 10. However, we have a very strong competitor here with the Sutek Winder from Doggo McDingo. This has a lot of support from the community. It doesn't have the most upvotes, but a lot of people are really hyped over this one. I think this definitely fits the theme. It has enough modifications and enough neon to fit the cyberpunk aesthetic. It has its own custom texture. It has a really cool presentation. It even has a force field shield, which is really cool. This one has a very strong chance, but I don't think it has the best chance out of everything in this season. I will give it an 8 out of 10. I think the Pegasus has a better chance. Then there's the Starship from FG Caliber. It's alright, but the design is a bit too basic, especially the front, and the shaping is just a bit too weird and simplistic. I think it very likely will not get picked, and I'll put it in 2 out of 10. Then we have another strong competitor with the Code Per 7ville. This is a pretty cool looking car. I think this definitely fits the cyberpunk theme because of the details at the back, and it has almost 900 upvotes, so the support is there. I think this has a strong chance, and I'm going to put it at 8 out of 10. Then there's the Redline from VV Omega. This is a solid looking car, but I don't think it really fits the Jailbreak style that well, especially the front with the headlights. This is something that I would expect to see in a different game. It also seems like a typical hypercar, doesn't seem super cyberpunky to me. I will give it a 3 out of 10. It most likely won't get picked. For the penultimate cyberpunk themed vehicle, we have the Type 87 Turbo. This one honestly was presented really well. I quite like this pose, and the vehicle itself looks good, but it doesn't have much hype. There's not enough support from the community, and it's not super cyberpunky or futuristic. I will give it a 3 out of 10. I think it likely will not get chosen. But the final vehicle to go over here is the Cyphex. This is definitely the most controversial submission of the season. The Reddit post has over 400 comments, which is very unusual, and it just shows how much people are debating this submission in the comments. I'm sure the devs have spent many hours debating over this submission in particular. The key thing that people don't like about it is that it looks too similar to a typical hypercar, particularly the Orion. I think it looks different enough from the Orion, but I can definitely see the resemblance. And to me, this feels futuristic enough, especially with the neon, but this feels too clean and not something I would really expect to see in a cyberpunk setting. However, the fact is, it does have a lot of support, and it would be a very exciting grand prize for a lot of people since it is a hypercar. So I do think this definitely has a super strong chance, so it will get a 7 out of 10. I think it is very likely to get chosen, but I don't think it has the best chance, and I think there's certainly vehicles that the devs would be more compelled to choose over this one. Overall, this season looks awesome. I'm very excited for it. Cyberpunk was a theme I had wanted for a while, and I was very happy with the submissions we received. I do wish there were more flying vehicles submitted for the season, but I'm still very happy with what we got, and I am very excited to play this season. Each season tends to have 2 to 3 rims, 2 to 3 spoilers, a texture, a furniture, and a tire sticker or style, and 1 vehicle, plus a drift. So I think the most likely prizes to get chosen will be the spoiler from Speed Queen, the Neo Runner rims, the Jailbreak wall furniture, this drift from Sheriff, the Volt tire, the Infinity rims, the Cyberwave spoiler, and the Pegasus as the grand prize. But now it's time to hear from you. What do you think of the season? Are you excited for it? What do you want to win? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments, and like I said at the beginning, feel free to fill out this tier list and send it to me on Discord, and I'll definitely check it out. Be sure to like and subscribe for more Jailbreak content. I'll be playing and streaming the season when it comes out, and yeah, thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day or night.